Good day, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Inspired with Christopher Williams. I am your host, Christopher Williams, your navigator and motivator on the path of accomplishing your goals and achieving your dreams. I want to take this time to thank everybody for the nice words and comments that you guys are continuing to share. It sounds like you guys are really liking this type of program, so I'm always happy to hear that. Remember to like, share, follow, and comment, whether it be with your friends or some coworkers. Let everybody know. We want everybody to enjoy this show. Facebook.com/Williams Inc., OneWilliamsEnterprises@gmail.com, and OneWilliamsEnterprises.com, where you can always get in touch with me. I'm always available. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have some ideas for the show. Some things that you want to just say, hey, Chris, we want to see this. Talk to us about how you feel about this. Hey, I'm always here to help. And also, if you want me to come out and visit you, let me know. I'll be happy to come out and speak to your group, or, even if you want to set up something one-on-one or whatever you may want to do, we can make that happen, okay? Going back to last week's episode, we talked a little bit about the communication process, right? We broke the ice on that. Some people, I know how to communicate. I know what that means. Well, maybe now you know a little bit more about what it means, okay? So we're just going to pick up where we left off. We started the idea of the communication process, right? Broke some ice on exactly how that process works. So what we're going to do today is we're actually going to get a little bit to more detail. We're going to talk a little bit more about the intricacies of the communication process. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So at the end of last episode, we talked a little bit about your idea, okay? That's how this whole thing starts, as an idea. So the idea comes across one day that you're seeing your boss and that you need to tell them something or get this idea out about the meeting. So now you got to figure out, okay, now how do I get this message to them, right? How do I communicate effectively to my boss or anybody else? So you take the idea that you have, and now what you're doing is you're starting to actually mentally encode the message or the type of message that you're going to give off. Now, whether that's something that you're going to communicate through an email, through an actual face-to-face conversation, or you may decide to send this through a memo. These are all the things that you're actually doing that you don't even realize that you're doing. So these are the things that you're kind of encoding in your mind. Now, what you're going to do based on that is you're going to pick or decide what is the best medium for you to use to get through to your boss. Now, as you're doing this, all right, let's go back to last episode and pull a few things to the present. Remember, we want to think about the audience, okay? Who are we talking to? Who is this person, and why does this person need to know what we know, okay? Like we said last week, you're not going to talk to your friend the same way you talk to your boss. So always make sure that you understand the importance of the message that you're about to give, as well as know the best way to communicate your message. Now, once you realize and you take that in consideration of who you're talking to, you want to figure out, okay, now what's the best means of communication to get through to this person? Now, if this is a professional setting, a lot of times you're going to try to do something that's either face-to-face, or you may want to try to do something that's actually formal, something that's professional. Sometimes you may want to go a step further than an email. If it's something that you can put in writing to let them know that you're serious about either getting an idea to them or that you're serious about maybe setting up a meeting. That may be the way that you need to go about communicating. Sometimes it's not always about what you say, but it's about how you say it. So if this is something that you're really going to want a legitimate or professional response from, you want to come across as professional as possible. Now, I know we've talked about emails and we talked about face-to-face. These are all different types of communication. Going back to last episode, we introduced the idea of verbal and nonverbal communication. So, the points that we've talked about so far are examples of both. Now, also remember that if you're going to communicate or you're going to get something across that's important, you may want to consider another idea, and that's how you dress, how you present yourself, because it also is a very important form of nonverbal communication. If I'm talking to my boss, I'm not going to come up in a t-shirt and jeans. It doesn't matter what the topic is. It can be just to tell him, hey, I appreciate, that the meeting or taking me to the meeting with you. You're not going to come up just unofficial in those situations, okay? You're going to present yourself very professional, kind of like this. But you want to make sure that they know that you mean business and that you value their time and that you know that they're of importance. Also, when you're communicating, you want to make sure not only that you present yourself the right way, but you're paying attention, okay? Everybody likes to feel important. And sometimes the only way that you can make somebody feel important is how you talk to them. If I'm talking to somebody as if I'm coming off passive, or I'm talking to them like it's not important whether they give me a response or not, then it's probably not going to be wise of me to think that I'm going to get a good response back, especially if I'm not giving them a good initial idea of what I'm trying to either get out of them or what I need their help from. The next part of the communication process involves sending the message. This is one of the most important parts of the process, because after you've figured out what your idea is or what you want to say, what you want to get across to that someone or that group, you have to send a message. Either be it face-to-face, you've set up a meeting, or you're prepared to hit the send button on that email. Now's the time to do it. You've already went through the background work, so now you're about to send a message. Now, if this is face-to-face, as we stated, you want to make sure that you're readily presentable. You want to make sure that you presented yourself the right way. Or if you're sending an email, you want to make sure that you've spell-checked everything, okay? There's nothing wrong with double-checking. Sometimes you can triple-check. Even you may want to get someone else's opinion, you know. It's always good to have a fresh pair of eyes on things just to make sure that you didn't miss anything. So once you send a message, this is actually going to be the most important part of it, because now the person is receiving the message. Now, one of the main things that happens is that people fail to see the reaction of the person or group once they receive the message. So if I'm telling you information, I'm not just going to walk off and leave you to your own understanding, because if you don't understand what I'm saying, then we have a failure to communicate. The whole process is broken, right? We've wasted all this time. I've wasted all this time. You've wasted time sitting here listening to me talk about nothing. But we want to make sure that we're on the same page. So when it comes time for the person to receive the message, you want to make sure that they have a clear understanding of what you're saying. This is actually pretty attainable, okay? You don't want to get so caught up in the science of everything that you forget the simplicity of it. Everything that we do on this show is simple, you know? We take the complexity out of it so it can be simple with you. However, if you're having trouble with this, like I said, let me know. Facebook.com/WilliamsInc, OneWilliamsEnterprises@gmail.com, and OneWilliamsEnterprises.com. Let me know what you're struggling with. I can always step in and help you out. Leave me a comment, you know. Just let me know what the problem is, and I can definitely reply to you and let you know, hey, what you need to do to go forward. So you've given the message, the person is receiving it, and you want to make sure that they understand. So how do you do that, you ask? Well, I'm glad you did. One method that I actually use, and it works really well with me, is I reiterate what I just said. Okay? So if I'm telling somebody about a meeting and I'm giving details about a meeting, one thing I'm going to do when I'm done talking, if you don't have any questions, I'm going to ask you what you heard. Okay? So let's say, for instance, I'm telling somebody where to meet me, what time, some specifics. What I'm going to do at the very end is I'm going to say, okay, so what did you hear me say? So I can make sure it's what I intended for you to hear. This is a very basic, it's unique, but it's very simple. It's a very simple method of confirming communication, because guess what? They can basically regurgitate to you what they heard. And you'd be surprised sometimes what people can say to you based off of what you just said. This helps that you don't waste time, you don't waste sometimes resources, and you don't waste energy, because guess what? If they didn't understand you clearly, either they're going to not be able to carry out what you asked of them, they're going to be late if you're telling them about meeting details, and you're going to create something called rework. And rework is never productive. So they've confirmed what you said. They've seemed to get a good understanding of it. So now all that's left for them to do is to decode it and to make sure that you guys are on the same page. This has been an example of effective communication. Okay? Effective communication is a very good thing. Why? Because everybody's on the same page. Everybody's honestly understanding what needs to happen if there's a course of action that needs to be taken. And everybody knows what to do going forward. Right? Effective communication is very simple. It's very clean cut. Everybody knows what's going on. What you don't want to have is communication that's not effective. Now, when you think about this, you think about all the times where you got sent a message that didn't come across like you wanted it. You think about confusion. You think about rework. It's just so much. But when you think about those moments, you want to think about also, well, what was it that made that a situation that was not productive? All these things that you're probably thinking about that's coming to your mind right now, all that's actually something called static. Now, static is anything that gets in the way of the message that you're trying to send, or anything that gets in the way of the message that is being sent between one person to another. Static can be a lot of different things, but the most common things that you see include noise. Maybe there was a lot of noise going on and nobody heard a little bit of what you were trying to say, so they ended up going right when they should have went left with your message. Also, sometimes it's other people. You know, when you're sending information, one of the most detrimental things you probably could do is to actually try to send a message through another person. Simply because they may not understand what you're trying to say, and also they may not understand exactly the subject matter in which you guys are discussing at the time. So not only are people, not only is noise, sometimes time can get in the way. If you're sending time-sensitive material, you want to make sure that you get that message there as soon as you can. You know, don't put things off if it's something that you need to get put out there or get to somebody right away. All these are examples of static. And static is the main thing that gets in the way of effective communication. Now, once you've done the best you can, you've made sure you've decreased the possibility of having static in your message, at that point, you're pretty much clearing yourself for an effective communication process. So, let's think about this for a second. If you're not a business professional, or if you're just thinking about it from a very general standpoint, you're trying to get through to somebody as far as conflict resolution, which is one of the bigger situations out there, right? So you say, how can I use this in my daily life? Or how can I use this to resolve any conflict with somebody that I may be having? Well, it's very simple. Let's say, for instance, you have something that you want to clear up with someone. There was a misunderstanding of some sort, and you want to get on the road to recovery with this person. Well, there's nothing easier, there's nothing better to do than to just get started. So take what you wanted to clear up, whether there was a misunderstanding, someone thought you said something and you said something else. Start with that. Going back to the model that we've been talking about today, in the process of everything, this is your idea. You're in the idea stage. So the idea is that you want to clear up something, whether it was something that you said, an email that you sent, a text that you sent a text. We're not going to go into that because the weekends are the weekends. Some people, have those incidences, but you want to clear up something that happened, right? So you have the idea, okay, this is what I want to say. So after you do that, now you're starting the encoding process. What's the best way that I can get my message across to this person? Well, if it's something informal or you're talking to a close friend, the best thing for you to do may be a face-to-face interaction. That way you can gauge how they're taking what you're saying. That way you can judge if what you're saying is coming off the way you want it to. And you can avoid any kind of misunderstandings with emotions. Those things that you kind of are at risk with if you're trying to do things through, text message or email. Once you encode your message, you send the message. Face to face, you just go ahead and you just get your message out there. You say it how you feel you should say it, with the thought in mind that the whole process is about the other person, right? I know I've been saying that this whole time, but that's the key component to any type of communication. It's all about how the other person takes what you're saying. It's not about how you're saying it. It's about how they take it. Because if they're taking it the wrong way, then the process is broken, right? Okay, so you sent your message. Now it's up to that person to interpret your message, and also it's up to them to respond. So if you've done your due diligence at this point in the conversation and you've restated what you said to make sure that they understand what you wanted them to understand, or to make sure that they heard what you wanted them to hear, the only thing left to do now is for that person to give you their response. And once they give you their response, as long as it's along the lines of what you wanted them to hear, then you've done the best that you can. And the healing process, if that's what this is about, can start. But you wanted to make sure that you took those measures. Basically, you wanted to do that to show that person that you care about them. All this is for the other person. Remember that. So, throughout the process, if it comes to resolution, then you know you've done a good job. Even if it just continues to lead to further conversation, you've done the right thing. Well, we've went over a lot of things, so let's recap real quick. Communication. The discussion or transmit of information between one person to another or from one group to another. You want to make sure that you choose the right means of communication, whether that be verbal or nonverbal. Remember to consider your audience, okay? You want to make sure that you're talking to the right person, but you also want to make sure that you're using the right means of communication with the right person. Not only that, you want to decrease the use of static, or you want to decrease the effect of static as much as you can. So that means sending things that are time sensitive on time. That also means making sure that there's not a lot of noise going on, or if there is, you're making sure that there's clarity after things that you're saying. And you want to make sure that you're not using people to get your message across to other people, because that's one of the biggest causes of static out there currently. If there's something that you want to say to somebody, say it directly to that person or send it directly to that person. That way, A, you know that they're going to get the message, and B, you don't have to worry about somebody else knowing your business. Okay? Once you do all that, you're on the pathway to a great relationship with somebody new, or you've effectively communicated an idea or thought to somebody else.
10 years to learn the business. 10 years to make a name. 1 year on your own. It takes time to build a small business, but only 60 days to transform it with email marketing from Constant Contact. Sign up with Constant Contact and get 60 days of free email marketing to generate referrals, connect with clients, and build the business you've always wanted. Constant Contact. Start your 60-day free trial today.
Welcome back. We want to take this time to thank our sponsors for helping make the show possible. And today's point of power comes from the topic of waiting. A lot of times, the things that come that are really meant for us to have involves us actually just being patient. When you think about a lot of things going on now, I mean, there's so many distractions out there that it's easy to get caught up in doing something all the time. We always have to reply. We have to post. We have to tweet. We have to Snapchat, right away. Everybody wants things right away. And a lot of times you have to remember, years ago, none of this was around, but you still had people that created things and people that, developed things. You have people that have statues to this day that didn't have any of these means of communication, but they still are great people. So a lot of times, just think about this. Is what's meant for me really going to be determined by how much I do today? The reason I say that is because half the time, society tells us that we always have to be doing something or we're going to be considered lazy, right? Well, if you're not doing this amount of stuff on this day, you're lazy. You're not doing enough. Get up and do something. But when I look at my life, just to get a little personal with you, a lot of things that really came that made a difference in my life and got me where I am today didn't involve me putting together this elaborate plan or doing 8 or 9 things in one day and doing 8 things the next day. They truly just came, honestly, sometimes when I least expected it. But what I had to do was I had to be diligent. I had to work hard when there was time to work. But I also had to take my time. And sometimes taking your time is all you need to do. Don't get so caught up in how much you can do. Stay focused on the quality of what you do. Because the quality of what you do is going to determine how far you go. And it's also going to determine, the level at which you perform. So as you go forward, don't let this world tell you that being that you haven't made a certain amount of posts today, or you haven't did a certain amount of jumping jacks, if if you're a health enthusiast, but focus on the quality, focus on your product, focus on your brand, because your brand that you create is what's going to take you to the next level. For my car enthusiasts out there, think of a Rolls Royce. Did you know that every Rolls Royce has an emblem on it that's specific to that particular model car? Now, when you think of a Rolls Royce, you think of something that's very expensive, something that some people don't ever think they can afford. But the idea behind a Rolls Royce is that everyone is unique to that particular owner. That one emblem that sits on the front, the lady that's sitting there, looks like she's trying to kiss the sky, that piece takes a number of months to make. The car itself takes more than 5 months to make. But when you think about the quality of the vehicle, and you think how long that vehicle lasts, and you think the benefit that vehicle provides to the owner, to be able to say, for the rest of eternity, no vehicle is going to be created like mine, it makes it worth it, right? So remember that. It's not how many or how much, it's the quality behind what you do. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. It's a custom of ours to have a good time, so just spread the word. I'm always here at your disposal. onewilliamsenterprises@gmail.com, facebook.com/WilliamsInc, and onewilliamsenterprises.com, where I'm always available to help you, always here to assist you. Like, share, follow, and leave me some questions. If you have some ideas about the show going forward, hey, you have some things that you want me to talk about because you really have not heard anything yet about what you have in mind, let me know. I would love to talk about what you want to talk about, because that's really why I'm here. So never be afraid to talk to me, comment, let me know anything, or even if you have some ideas or you want me to come speak at an engagement of yours, I'm always available. Just let me know, okay? Be sure to check out BizLinks TV to catch the latest episodes of Inspired with Christopher Williams. Also to catch the episodes that you may have missed. You may not have had your handy-dandy pen and paper out at that episode, so you can go back and watch it as many times as you want. But I'm always happy to hear from you. So until next time, stay inspired.